Iwi Hotep Charger History. That means hello in ancient Egyptian. Today's essential question is, why did ancient Egyptians build pyramids? Please pause your video and copy the essential question neatly across the top of your notebook. Please draw your vertical line for your notes, and then in the top corner of your notebook, please draw these two boxes like this. I'll tell you later what they're for. So on Thursday and Friday, we learned all about the elaborate steps that upper-class Egyptians would go through in order to get to the afterlife. Why did they bury a person's possessions with them when that person died? Wow, so this is one of the most famous things about Egypt. For thousands of years, these amazing pyramids have been there. And people come from miles and miles and miles away across the world to see them. Wow. These pyramids are so big that if I put 1,000 of you on top of each other, you would still be shorter than most pyramids. So who built these things? This is a statue made out of ivory of a pharaoh named King Khufu. He is the king who ordered the first pyramid ever to be built. It's called the Great Pyramid of Giza, and here it is. The entire project to build this pyramid took about 23 years to complete, during which time 2,300,000 building blocks, weighing an average of 5,000 pounds each, were moved. Pharaoh Khufu was the first king to build a pyramid ever. That's why he's called the pyramid builder. We all think of pyramids when we think of Egypt, but actually, pyramids were only built for a short time in Egypt's history. The only time pyramids were built was during the Old Kingdom. Here's the Old Kingdom on this timeline. Obviously, we're in the BC times, and we're about 2,500 years before Jesus was born. The first pyramid was built during the beginning of the Old Kingdom, and the rest of the pyramids were all built in the few centuries after that. Go ahead and copy this central idea in your notes. The Old Kingdom was the only kingdom in which pyramids were built. Today we'll find out why pyramids were actually kind of a bad idea. So the reason for pyramids was this. The mummies of the kings who passed away needed a place to rest. We know that they were buried in sarcophagi, or these really fancy coffins. The coffins were then buried in tombs. And for pharaohs, these tombs were extra fancy compared to everybody else. These tombs were gigantic. They were pyramids. That's right. These pyramids are just gigantic resting places for dead pharaohs. The pyramids were believed to help the pharaoh get to the afterlife. Pyramids housed many valuable goods that the pharaoh would need when he got to the afterlife. If the pharaoh was going to maintain his royal lifestyle, he was going to need all of his treasures to come with him. Remember, Egyptians believed that what you were buried with would come with you to the afterlife. Go ahead and copy this central idea. Pyramids were tombs for pharaohs. There are about 80 pyramids in Egypt. And the most famous one is the one built by Pharaoh Khufu, the first pyramid ever, the Great Pyramid. Pause your video for more time to copy. So gold and all the precious things that pharaohs would need when they got to the afterlife, those were placed inside the tomb. Pyramids were built to be confusing so that robbers would not be able to find the treasures that were buried inside. The pyramids were created to guard the body of the pharaoh and guard all the riches that he would bring to the afterlife. So you see, pyramids are filled with tunnels. The king's chamber was where the pharaoh was buried. His wife or mother would be buried here in the queen's chamber. And then around them were all these tunnels to try to prevent robbers. Here's a tunnel inside a pyramid. As you can see, it's all decorated with hieroglyphics. I want you to look at this one symbol here. This is supposed to be a protection symbol that would keep the pharaohs safe as they traveled to the afterlife. That's what most of these symbols and the hieroglyphics have to do with. It's all stuff that is going to protect the pharaoh's spirit as he moves through the underworld. Here's a picture of the burial chamber inside a pyramid, again, painted with symbols to keep the pharaoh's spirit safe. Here's that one symbol again, the Ankh, which is meant to be extra protection against evil. And here's an actual sarcophagus inside the tomb. So that's what it looked like when the king was buried in the chambers. Between 20,000 and 30,000 people worked for the pharaoh to build the pyramids. In the past, people thought that these workers were slaves, but now we know that they were actually not slaves. They were paid workers. They were artisans and also peasant farmers who needed the money. Sometimes 100,000 workers or more would be part of building the pyramids. As you can see, it takes a lot of people to lift up a stone that weighs 5,000 pounds. So for your practice today, you will be doing a mini research project to find out more about pyramids. You will be filling out a chart like this while looking at 4 documents. The first box on your chart is telling you what document you should look at. I want you to write whether that document is primary or secondary. So does it come from ancient Egypt, or is it something from later that was written about ancient Egypt? Then, I want you to write 2 details that you observe or read from the document. Some documents are pictures, there's a video, and some are things you need to read. Please tell me 2 details that you observe when you're learning about those documents. Then I want you to write 1 central idea for what the document was about. And last, I want you to make an inference. An inference, is something that was not listed explicitly in the document, but that you're able to make an educated guess. Some of the notes, like this inference, for example, are provided for you as examples. Please read those notes. They're going to help you understand the document, and they're going to help you take better notes when you model them after mine. For example, for the inference, start off by saying, I can infer that, and then, again, make the jump with your brain. Okay, in the box at the top of your notebook page, when you finish your educated video, please put the percent that you got correct in the first box. So put your percent that shows up at the end of this video right here. Leave this one blank for now. Don't do anything. But your score goes here. All right, we know that ancient Egyptians respected cats and thought that they were sacred and holy. So you better do what this cat says. This cat says, meow, start practicing. Please go back to your playlist for practice.